You were 18 years old when you got drafted. You didn't choose this war, didn't vote for it, didn't start it. You were told your country needed you, that communism had to be stopped, that you had a duty to serve. So you went. You put on the uniform, you went through training, you deployed to Vietnam. You did exactly what your country asked you to do. You followed orders. You fought when told to fight. You risked your life. You watched friends die. You came home wounded, physically, mentally, or both. And when you got back, your country treated you like you were the problem, like you were responsible for a war politicians started and couldn't win. You did your job, and you were blamed for it. This is for every Vietnam veteran who's carried that injustice for 50 years. This is the acknowledgment you should have received when you came home. This is the truth that needs to be said. This is about setting the record straight, about separating the warriors from the war, about recognizing what Vietnam veterans actually did versus what they were accused of doing, about finally, after all these years, saying what should have been said in 1968, 1969, 1970, and every year since. You weren't the problem. You were asked to solve a problem that couldn't be solved the way you were being asked to solve it. And blaming you for that failure is one of the great injustices in American history. Let me start with the most basic fact. The overwhelming majority of you didn't volunteer for this war. You were drafted. Your number came up. You got a letter in the mail that said report for service. You had no choice. Well, you had choices. You could flee to Canada, become a draft dodger, live in exile, or you could claim conscientious objector status, go through legal battles, face social stigma, or you could go to prison for refusing. Those were your options. Most of you chose to serve, not because you wanted to go to war, but because you believed it was your duty, because that's what citizens did when called, because your fathers and grandfathers had served when called, and you would too. The ones who did volunteer often did so for understandable reasons, to avoid being drafted into the army and choosing a different branch, to get better training, to control some aspect of their service, or because they actually believed in the mission, believed that stopping communism in Southeast Asia was worth fighting for. That belief was encouraged by the government, by leaders who said this war was necessary, who said American credibility was on the line, who said the domino theory meant all of Southeast Asia would fall if Vietnam fell. You were told this mattered, that your service would make a difference, and you believed it, because why wouldn't you? The government was supposed to be telling the truth. You went to Vietnam, and you did your job. You conducted patrols. You engaged enemy forces. You secured villages. You protected civilians when possible. You followed the rules of engagement even when they made your job harder, even when they put you at greater risk. You fought with honor, with courage, with professionalism. The vast majority of American soldiers in Vietnam conducted themselves according to military law and basic human decency. Yes, there were exceptions. Yes, atrocities happened. But those were aberrations, not the norm. Most of you fought cleanly, fought honorably, did what soldiers are supposed to do. You faced an enemy that didn't fight by conventional rules, that didn't wear uniforms, that used civilians as shields, that booby-trapped everything, that tortured prisoners, that employed tactics designed to terrorize. You fought this enemy with one hand tied behind your back, with rules that they didn't follow, with restrictions that made sense politically, but not tactically. And you did it anyway, because those were the orders. That was the mission. You endured conditions that were brutal, heat that was oppressive, humidity that was crushing, disease, parasites, jungle that tried to kill you as effectively as the enemy. You carried heavy loads through terrible terrain. You went days without sleep. You functioned through fear that never went away. You did all of this because that's what soldiers do, because your brothers next to you were depending on you, because the mission required it. You watched friends die, held them while they bled out, called from medvac knowing they probably wouldn't make it, wrote letters to families explaining how their son or husband or father died. You carried those losses, carried the weight of every casualty, carried the guilt of surviving when others didn't, and you kept functioning, kept doing your job because giving up wasn't an option. You came home, and America wasn't grateful. America was angry. The war was unpopular. The body counts were rising. The victory that had been promised wasn't materializing, and somehow this became your fault. You, the 19-year-old kid who was drafted and did what he was told, became the scapegoat for failures at the highest levels of government and military leadership. The protesters called you baby killers, spat on you, threw things at you, called you murderers, as if you had started this war, as if you had made the decision to send 500,000 Americans to Southeast Asia, as if you were personally responsible for every casualty, every bombing, every destroyed village. You weren't. You were the tool, not the hand that wielded it. But you were the one they could see, the one they could yell at, so you became the target of their rage. The government that sent you there abandoned you when you came home. The VA was unprepared and underfunded. Benefits were denied. Medical care was inadequate. Mental health support was non-existent. You were told your problems weren't service-related, told to just get over it, told that what you experienced wasn't that bad. The same government that had drafted you and sent you to war now denied responsibility for what that war did to you. The job market discriminated against you. Employers saw a Vietnam veteran on your resume and passed. They'd heard the stories, the stereotypes, drug addicts, violent, unstable, damaged. Never mind that most of you were none of those things. Never mind that you demonstrated discipline, courage, and capability under the worst conditions imaginable. The stereotype was enough. So you struggled to find work, struggled to build the life you were promised would be waiting when you came home. Your families didn't understand. They couldn't. You'd experienced things that civilians couldn't comprehend, seen things that couldn't be unseen, done things that couldn't be undone. And when you tried to talk about it, they didn't want to hear, didn't want to know. So you stopped talking, stopped trying to explain, locked it all away and tried to be normal, tried to pretend Vietnam hadn't changed you. But it had, and pretending otherwise just made the isolation worse. You were told to forget, to move on, to leave Vietnam in the past, as if you could just decide to stop having nightmares, as if you could turn off the hypervigilance, as if you could forget the faces of the friends you lost, as if trauma was something you could simply choose to discard. So you tried. You pushed it down, buried it, and it ate at you from the inside, destroyed relationships, destroyed careers, destroyed your health, because trauma doesn't go away just because you ignore it. For decades, you carried this alone, carried the service that wasn't honored, the sacrifice that wasn't acknowledged, the wounds that weren't treated. Some of you found other veterans, found brotherhood in VFW halls and American Legion posts, found people who understood without explanation. These connections saved lives, gave you a place where you belonged, where you didn't have to pretend or explain or justify. But even there, even with other veterans, the larger society's rejection hurt. The country started to change eventually, slowly. People began to recognize that you could oppose a war without hating the warriors, that soldiers who were drafted and did their duty weren't responsible for policy failures. The phrase, "thank you for your service," became common. People started treating veterans with respect. But for many of you, this came too late, came after decades of carrying the weight alone. And even the thanks, when they came, felt hollow. Because where were these people in 1970, in 1975, in 1985? Where was this gratitude when you actually needed it? Here's what needs to be said clearly. You were not wrong to serve when called. You were not wrong to believe that your country wouldn't ask you to fight and die unless it was necessary. You were not wrong to do your duty, even when that duty was hard and scary and traumatic. You did what citizens are supposed to do. You answered when called. You served with honor. You came home having done exactly what was asked of you. The war's failure was not your failure. You won every significant military engagement. You demonstrated tactical superiority. You performed extraordinarily under impossible conditions. The failure was strategic, political, a failure of leadership at the highest levels who couldn't translate military success into strategic victory, who couldn't articulate achievable objectives, who couldn't build the political will necessary to see the war through or the wisdom to end it earlier. That failure belongs to presidents and generals and politicians, not to the 18 and 19 and 20-year-old soldiers who were doing what they were told. You did not lose Vietnam. America lost the will to continue fighting, lost domestic support, lost international credibility. But American soldiers never lost on the battlefield. You fought bravely, fought effectively, fought until you were told to stop. The abandonment of South Vietnam happened after American forces had left, after you had come home. That outcome was political, not military. And putting that on you, on soldiers who fought and bled and sacrificed, is wrong, fundamentally wrong. You deserved better, deserved to come home to parades instead of protests, deserved to receive benefits instead of denials, deserved to get treatment instead of stigma, deserved to be honored instead of blamed, deserved to have your service valued instead of vilified. You deserved what every generation of American veterans before you received: recognition, gratitude, support. Instead, you got the opposite, and that injustice has never been fully addressed. Some of you are no longer with us, died from wounds sustained in Vietnam, died from Agent Orange exposure, died from the long-term effects of trauma and stress, died by your own hand because the burden became too heavy to carry. These deaths are casualties of Vietnam just as surely as the names on the wall, and they represent a debt that can never be repaid. Lives that were destroyed not by the enemy, but by the indifference and hostility of the society you fought for. For those still here, still carrying this, know this: you did nothing wrong. You served when called, you fought when ordered, you did your duty under the most difficult circumstances imaginable. The failure of the war is not your failure. The decisions that led to America's involvement were not your decisions. The strategies that couldn't achieve victory were not your strategies. The policies that lost public support were not your policies. You were soldiers, doing what soldiers do, following orders, trusting that the orders were worth following. The shame belongs to the people who sent you to fight a war they couldn't win and then blamed you for the loss. The shame belongs to the protesters who couldn't distinguish between opposition to the war and respect for the warriors. The shame belongs to the VA that failed to care for you. The shame belongs to the employers who discriminated against you. The shame belongs to a society that made you the scapegoat for its own failures of leadership and moral clarity. You owe no apologies. You don't need to justify your service. You don't need to explain why you went. You don't need to defend what you did. You answered when your country called. That's enough. That's more than enough. That's everything. To the Vietnam veterans reading this or hearing this, thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your sacrifice. Thank you for doing your duty even when your country failed to do its duty to you. Thank you for carrying the burden alone for so long. Thank you for surviving. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your courage, not just in combat, but in the decades afterward when you had to keep living with what you experienced and how you were treated. You deserved better. You still deserve better. And even though this recognition comes late, too late for many, it needs to be said. You were right to serve. You were honorable in your service. You were brave. You were professional. You did your job. And you were blamed for it. That blame was wrong. That treatment was unjust. And every American who understands history should acknowledge that debt and that injustice. You did your job. You did it well. You did it honorably. And for that, you deserve not blame, but gratitude, not stigma, but respect, not abandonment, but support. This is what should have been said 50 years ago. This is what needs to be said now. This is the recognition that's owed. To every Vietnam veteran, you served with honor, and your country owes you an apology for treating you otherwise. Welcome home. Finally, welcome home. If you're a Vietnam veteran, please know that your service mattered, your sacrifice was real, and the way you were treated was wrong.